We are supposed to read books, but strangely enough, not all books can be read. The book we are talking about today puzzles scientists and people alike, as it is a great mystery that cannot be read. What is this book? And why is it so mysterious? Let's find out in this episode. I will tell you about the book that no one in the world can read. In 1912, Polish book dealer Wilfrid Voynich discovered an unusual old book in Italy. Voynich purchased the book, which bore no title or author's name. The book contained many enigmatic images and was accompanied by a strange text in an unknown language. Voynich became obsessed with this book, and until his death 38 years later, he desperately tried to understand its contents. He attempted to read it, but he was unable to identify or decipher the language of the text. Voynich died without ever being able to unlock the secret of the book he had purchased. After his death, the book came to be known as the Voynich Manuscript. Nearly 100 years have passed since the book dealer's death, and more than a century since the book was found, yet it has never been read or deciphered. This makes the Voynich Manuscript one of the most mysterious books in history. Let's delve into this manuscript. The time of the book's creation is unknown. However, according to radiocarbon dating results, scientists have found that the manuscript's cover was made between 1404 and 1438 AD. This means that the book was probably written in the first half of the 15th century. Although some scholars believe the book was written later in the 16th century, when its history began to be documented. The book itself is an illustrated manuscript written by an unknown author in an unknown language. An incredible combination, isn't it? Since no one has been able to read and decipher the book for so long, the language in which the manuscript is written is recognized as one of the most enigmatic codes in the history of cryptography. However, it is still possible to study the contents of the manuscript. In addition to the text, the manuscript contains many illustrations of unusual plants, naked women, and astrological symbols. Some of the illustrations depicted in the manuscript resemble various creatures from the natural world and space. All of this barely fits the mind. How could the author, who lived in the 15th and 16th centuries, draw these things in such detail when microscopes did not yet exist in the world? After Voynich's death, scholars from various countries took up the manuscript. Linguists discovered that the manuscript was written either in an ancient language that has long been forgotten or in an unknown language. There is another option. The manuscript is written in a known language, but it is completely encrypted with a very complex code. According to researchers, the reason may be that the author wrote about mysterious and important things and therefore had to encrypt every word so that no one could uncover the purpose of the work. This makes sense, but it is unclear how a man who lived in the 15th century could come up with such encryption. After all, scientists believe that encryption was at a primitive level at that time. Modern scientists can solve ancient codes at any time, but the Voynich manuscript's encryption cannot be solved even with the latest techniques. It's suspicious, isn't it? But what is also suspicious and intriguing is that many of the illustrations in the manuscript do not match the 15th and 16th centuries. By the way, the author has not been identified. The author is still unknown. It is clear that he was very intelligent, as evidenced by the fact that there is not a single blotch or correction in the entire manuscript. But what about the manuscript itself? What is it about? Unfortunately, it cannot be deciphered and it is impossible to understand it 100%.